I'm the Shortcut Chef from superprof.com. This special project today will show how to make the world's first heart-friendly pizza with a special shortcut formula for making any size of pizza. The goal of pizza is to have a product with contrasting flavors, sweet sauce and salty meat, juicy vegetables joined by melted cheese. All of this should come into a delicious treat that you simply will want to eat again and again. Over the years, pizza has gotten very bland, and it seems like many parts of this recipe are missing from brand to brand. To get started, we have to decide the size of the pizza that we want to make and the size of the pan. If you're making a 12-inch pizza, you only need 12 ounces of flour. The relationship between flour and pizza size is 1-to-1. If you choose to use a square cookie sheet type pan, that's fine. You'll just have a square pizza. You can still make your own edges on the sides where the crust doesn't meet the pan. Always grease your pan before starting. You can also preheat your oven to 400 degrees and leave it that way. In some recipes, we do pre-bake the crust. In this recipe, you have the choice. I think it turns out crispier if you pre-bake the crust for about 15 minutes. Another decision to be made is whether or not to use yeast. If you want a thick, bready crust, like for deep dish pizza, I would recommend using yeast. If you want a flat, thin crust, I would recommend not using yeast. To start mixing your crust, you do need a fairly large bowl. I used a whipper when I did it the last time, and it worked very well. The formula for the pizza crust is very easy. If you're using 12 ounces of flour, you will use half that in tablespoons of water, and half of that, which is 3, for the oil, considering the oil spreads out. So you're using 6 tablespoons of water for a 12-inch size pizza and 3 tablespoons of oil. So you can see the ratio through mathematics. The next thing you're going to do is add a little bit of salt, maybe a half of a teaspoon for a 12-inch pizza. I recommend sea salt because it's better for you. You mix this up with your blender until it makes a soft ball. If you can't get it out of the bowl, you're going to have to just add a couple more tablespoons of water. But you have to be able to get it pliable enough to make a ball. Take it out in one piece and put it on your dusted baking mat or tabletop. This is the first time I made pizza with a baking mat. I like it very much because you'll see in a few minutes, once the crust gets made, you can just flip it. But the nice thing about the baking mat is that it gives you the measurements and diameters of the different types of baking projects that you might be doing. It's also very easy to clean. It has inches and metric measurements. I do like this very much. At first, I didn't like it, but I changed my opinion. There are certain types of baking mats that you want to stay away from, and you can read about those on the packages. After we get our soft ball of dough on the baking mat, dusted with a little bit of flour, we're going to roll it out with a rolling pin, roll it to 16 inches on your baking mat. Then we will take our pizza pan and put it on top of the dough with a knife, go around, cut off the edges that are left over, and then you're going to flip it like this, and you will have your pizza dough on your pan. The next step is to pre-bake it. I do like to pre-bake pizza crust because I like to add butter to it afterwards. This makes a better crust and the flavor is richer. So this is put in the oven for 15 minutes until light and golden brown. Then it's taken out. At that time, while the crust is warm, we'll baste this with butter. You can use a baster or just take a stick of butter and roll it over the surface of the crust. The second part of this video is going to be about the sauce. And here again, I'm using a shortcut. I'm using half of a can of tomato soup. You might want to taste it to see if it tastes a little raw. If it tastes a little bit raw, add a little salt. But you should be able to use half of a can without doing anything. Just spread it on your pizza and you're good to go, and start adding the other toppings. The vegetables I chose for today are sweet green pepper, red onion, mushrooms, pepperoni, and sausage. The special part of this recipe includes the use of red onions, which has 14 times more health hardy ingredients than garlic. And if you use the red onions, the pizza will not cause indigestion or heartburn. We'll also be adding some mushrooms. If you have mushrooms in the freezer and let them thaw halfway, they're much easier to cut and you can get a very fine slice if you desire that. You need about 6 mushrooms and about 1/2 of a large green pepper, about 2/3 cup of chopped red onion, 1.5 cups fresh coleslaw. This can be the tricolored coleslaw or just plain cabbage coleslaw. The purpose of using coleslaw is that it's very acidic and it also blends very well with the other pizza flavors. We'll be using sliced pepperoni and sliced sausage, preferably turkey sausage. For mozzarella cheese, we're going to use the string cheese. I would recommend 4 to 6 pieces of string cheese. You can lay these in a row and then slice them or cut them with the scissors into small pieces and then scatter that over the top of the pizza. And your meat will go on the top. The weight of the meat will hold everything together. For the meat, we'll be using pepperoni slices and also sausage slices. So, when putting it together, we'll start with our pizza crust. The sauce has been added. We're adding coleslaw around the edge. Remember, this is a teaching video, and we're trying to be as neat as possible. You can put as much coleslaw as you like. It's obviously very good for you, and it's very low in acid. Pizzas with spinach will have more acid. Okay, after the coleslaw, we can add our pepper, either yellow, orange, red, or green sweet pepper. Sprinkle that evenly around. This is our red onion, and we're going to sprinkle evenly around. These are our mushrooms, which we don't really use that many mushrooms, but it depends on how you like them. But they have a tendency to overpower. You can put the cheese on next and then the meat. Simply slice your string cheese into small pieces and sprinkle it around. If you want to go to 4 pieces of cheese, that's fine. You can't really get too much cheese on a pizza. Here comes the sausage. And here comes the pepperoni. The very last thing is going to be your pepperoni. And all you need to do is spread it out around the edges and the inner part and the center, because that's your favorite meat when it comes to pizza. So you really can't put too much pepperoni on a pizza. So people who are acid sensitive, who have a lot of heartburn, will do well with this type of pizza. It's a low acid recipe, and I would recommend it to anybody, no matter what age, but it's especially good for people who are acid challenged, um, people over 50, and anybody else that has a lot of allergies to a number of different foods. All right, after your toppings have been added, you will bake the pizza in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes or until the crust is a medium golden brown, and make sure the cheese is melted. Let it cool and serve. You can use scissors for cutting it apart. You can use a pizza knife, whatever is comfortable for you. I use scissors a lot for cutting up vegetables. If you're not a knife-friendly person, it's perfectly safe and acceptable to use a pair of scissors. If you have any further questions, you can contact superprof.com. This is a gold star teaching video, and this is a special video, unlike the other videos that have been placed on YouTube. This is a special teaching video. Thank you.